You've found your way to the Winning Tactics podcast with host Adam Sinkus. Adam discusses winning tactics with small business owners and entrepreneurs, uncovering processes and introducing the tools and solutions for enhancing the bottom line. Thanks again for finding your way to the Winning Tactics podcast, and now your host, Adam Sinkus.
All right, welcome to our Thursday, September 17th episode of the Winning Tactics podcast. Super excited today. We are launching all kinds of crazy stuff going on. Last week I announced officially on Anchor FM as a podcasting platform. You can now find me on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all the major ones. Everyone you could possibly imagine, it's there now. Absolutely excited about that. I'm getting all of my past episodes loaded to the platform, so I think I have about 15 of them or so on there now. We'll be up to the current by the end of the week here. But I am also excited because I have Bob Sager from Spearpoint Solutions with us today. So Bob and I connected quite a while ago. We've been connected for a while and chatted about all kinds of different things. And I am just absolutely a fan of what he does over at Spearpoint Solutions. In fact, so much that we talked about it and came to an agreement on an affiliate program for his new offering. So definitely, first of all, welcome to the show, Bob. So glad to have you on. But I'd love to have you tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and then we'll get into that wonderful program you got going on that you just launched.
Yeah, no, and it's my honor to be here and a pleasure to chat with you today, Adam. And my background is pretty varied. And I actually, when I think about it, that probably is one of the things that gives me, kind of an advantage in developing strategies for companies. That plus my, couple decades, or I guess close to 3 decades now of studying what I call the psychology, sociology, and biology of human decision-making and action. And, I spent 4 years selling residential real estate. That's a fun way to live like a king some months and live like a pauper for another month. 17 years in the financial services industry, which is really, where my sort of metal was born. And then, I started Spearpoint Solutions in 2007, but really we launched in 2008. The end of 2007 was more of a setup. I say 2008, it just seems like, that doesn't seem like it's been over a dozen years, but I guess time flies whether you're having some fun or not. So you might as well have some fun along the way, Adam.
Of course. Yeah, no, it's amazing how fast things go. So I can't believe, that some of the projects that I've been working on, I've been involved with, for a couple of years now. I've been ski patrolling for like over 20 years. So that's absolutely crazy to me because I'm not an old guy.
Well, I don't feel like I'm old either, but I'm older than I used to.
So let's jump into you have a brand new offering at Spearpoint Solutions that you've been launching. It's a business strategy subscription. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. The work that we do with our company, we do 2 different things. One is, we train people on creative thinking methodologies. And the primary reason to utilize those is people like we do with every other part of our world. We fall into thinking habits, and if we've solved a problem in the past, that's sort of the solution that we're going to default to, because subconsciously, our habitual nature tells us we solved the problem this way in the past. We didn't die. So that's how we're going to continue to solve it. Right.
Yep.
And that's just reality. And that's how human beings work. I mean, imagine if we had to consciously think about absolutely everything we ever did, we'd never get anything done. Right. So habits
Mm-hmm.
are great. But the challenge with that is when you're looking for new solutions, which is absolutely critical in business, because the world constantly changes and competitors constantly are catching up, is you try to think about it, but you end up going around that same circular freeway of thought. And we found that the creative thinking methods that we teach in our we call them fun shops because they're not work. Uh, they help people take an exit ramp off of that circular thinking freeway so that they can see and explore new territory. And so that, in doing that work, it really led me to talking with a lot of CEOs, GMs, directors, people that have decision making authority and check writing ability. And they would tell me this training that you're doing with us is very beneficial and it's going to help us a lot in the long run. But quite frankly, we need some strategies we can win with now.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a great understanding of people, and you're kind of a master at creative thinking, and you've got a lot of business experience. Can you help us with that? And so that led into the other part of the work that we do, which is developing strategies that are unique, help companies drive traffic, position themselves better, differentiate themselves from their competitors. And so we've been doing that work for a while. The, I guess this is a kind of a challenge for some companies, especially in today's environment. The fee to do that starts at 10K and goes up depending on how complex the work is and what they need.
Of
And
course.
it's worth every penny too, by the way, Adam. But there are some companies that either one can't afford that, or two, they're just looking for a financially more efficient way to get better strategies to move forward with. So, during the COVID lockdown, I got thinking, how can we serve more companies faster in a bigger way? And I came up with the idea to why not, as opposed to just developing a proprietary custom strategy, why not develop strategies that many different companies of a certain size can apply and just have those be offered on a subscription. And so the more I played with that, I thought, the three areas that companies usually have the most difficulty with is traffic generation, whether that's physically to a brick and mortar or whether that's virtually to a website or social media or something like that, digitally. That's a big problem area. The biggest problem area is probably the second one, though, and that is differentiation from their competition. Positioning themselves in a way, doing some things in terms of customer experience, marketing, et cetera, that make them stand out from their competitors. Because look, if you are perceived by customers and potential customers as a commodity, you're just like everybody else. You have one basis for competing, and that's price. And
Mm-hmm.
that is no kind of fun way to be in business.
No.
Because look, unless you have the scale of an Amazon or a Walmart or something like that, that is a losing game. And and ultimately, especially for smaller companies, that is a downward death spiral. So
Yep.
differentiation, they don't have to be huge things that differentiate you from your competitors, but they have to be things that make customers go, wow, right?
Mm-hmm.
They surprise them and delight them in ways that they're that are emotional ways. And so we develop strategies that differentiate people from their competitors. And then the third thing that almost every company is looking to do is grow in new ways and maybe new ways that they hadn't thought of. So the strategies that I develop on a proprietary basis, those are typically the three areas. Sometimes we'll delve into like better employee relations and things like that. But typically it's those three categories. So the more I thought about that, I said, why don't we provide our subscribers with 3 business strategies, not just per year, but we're providing 3 every 30 days. So when somebody subscribes, they're going to get a new strategy in each one of those 3 areas I just talked about every 30 days. And now they're not custom, they're not proprietary because other subscribers have access to them too. And you may not implement them all exactly the way they are. In fact, I don't think you probably will, but you'll glean little nuggets from each one and what will apply to your business. So, and frankly, the best part about it, Adam, is, well, maybe not the best part, but a good part about it is as opposed to 10K per strategy, our introductory pricing on that is 3,500 per year, not per month. So we're pretty excited about that because we think it's going to make a huge difference.
That is absolutely awesome. If you think about it, that is 36 strategies for $3,500. That's less than $100 a strategy.
Yeah,
that is a steal.
As compared to 10 grand or more, right?
Yeah, which I mean, there are plenty of consultants out there that are coming up with strategies, and they all fit into that same kind of price range.
Right.
So it's.
Hey, that's like getting several cases of Dom Perignon for the price of a can of beer.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and if you use, look at the bottom of the screen, you see it scrolling across. I'll make sure I drop it in the show notes as well. There is a code there for a substantial savings. So you actually can get it for a little bit less than that $3,500 advertised price. So,
you're hurting me, Adam.
I'm hurting you.
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Nah, listen, man. We want as many entrepreneurs to be as successful as possible because the world needs them. The world needs more successful entrepreneurs. They're the engine that drives everything forward economically. So, yep. That's and they're the ones that create all the jobs, and people depend on them. And so I'm a big champion of successful entrepreneurs.
Awesome. Yeah. So check it out. That'll be scrolling across the bottom of the screen during the duration of the show. Spearpointonline.com. Have that correct, right?
Correct.
Website? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Spearpointonline.com is the website. You can go to check that out. Make sure we get that in the show notes as well. Matter of fact, I'm going to put it in right now. There. Definitely said check that out. Sign up for it. It is a steal. It is an absolute steal. But we are going to dive into our topic of the day: innovation. Why now more than ever? Right? COVID has been a challenge for a lot of people. Right? And I don't want to go down like the COVID path, but the reality is it pushed a lot of people far outside of their comfort zone. Brick and mortar stores and restaurants had to find unique ways to stay in business, really, at the end of the day. What are your thoughts on what you've seen businesses innovating, especially the small business market that have seen some struggles with COVID? What are some creative ways you've seen them innovating?
Well, one of the things that I've seen is that businesses have figured out sort of new ways of distributing their products. I think about the restaurant space, and I have a number of restaurant clients and know some friends of mine that work with that people in that space, and so I've seen them do some very, very interesting things on distributing their products in a different, better way. But there's kind of been a lot of sameness around that too. You know,
Mhm.
I'm always disappointed when I see companies talking about we're really clean. I'm thinking, well, no kidding. I mean, really? Does that give you a point of differentiation? I
Yeah.
mean, maybe it's just an awareness from whomever, but I mean, in a world where we have a worldwide pandemic, wouldn't that kind of be an expectation? It's like it would be like if car manufacturers said, our cars are safe. Really? Isn't that kind of a given in today's world? So, so I see that, but I can tell you, one of the things that I believe companies would be very wise to do, and if there are companies that have been affected by COVID, it is to utilize some of the different creative thinking methods that we teach to look at things in a way that they perhaps have not looked at them before. And one of the things I would recommend people get, um, and Adam, I think you might have a way for them to get this. You might have a way for them to get this at no charge. Is my guide to becoming more innovative, called
Yeah.
Seeing Visible So You Can Do the Impossible. One of the things that people will find as they look through that is that there are a dozen creative thinking methods, simple to use, simple to apply. Simple is better than complicated.
Hmm.
I mean, I guess there's a time and a place for complicated when you're doing vaccine research or something like that. That might be a little bit complicated. But in terms of thinking about business and in terms of strategies that work, the simpler you can make those, the better they are.
Yep. Yeah. I don't disagree with that.
But
What?
the more, I'm sorry, go ahead, Adam.
Oh, I was gonna say I don't disagree with that at all. As simple is good. I think we get wrapped up. Many business owners get wrapped up in their head trying to, overcomplicate things.
It would be like, could you juggle one ball? Almost everybody could do that. The more balls that you add to the challenge of juggling, the more likely something's going to get dropped, right?
Hmm.
And so the fewer working parts that you can have, the better off that you are. And so each one of those creative thinking methods is relatively simple to use, and they're relatively what they do really is they get people out of their own way. They I almost like to say we teach people how to think. That's not exactly true, but we do teach them how to think in new ways that they're not, and teach them how to see things that they're not seeing before, or that they're not seeing currently.
Yep.
And so I would definitely recommend, and we can frankly, if you want to, it's your show, so you're in charge, but I mean, we can talk about a couple of those methods that are pretty easy to implement if you want to talk about them here on this show.
Yeah, sure. I definitely think that our listeners benefit from that hugely. And just learning how to pull yourself out of that repetitive, systematic mindset that we get into, I think is important. So, yeah, I mean, one of the things I know we were going to talk about was leveraging your current offerings in a different direction. As being a piece of that. But we can take a step back from that for a moment and talk about some of those strategies, those creative thinking strategies, because I think it's important, and I think it kind of lays the foundation for how you can leverage your current offerings.
Right. One of the things that one of my favorite uh, is called Go Opposite. And I love that so much because when everybody's heading in one direction, if you're going the opposite direction, you're immediately going to stand out. I mean, imagine you're walking down a crowded sidewalk and everybody's flowing one direction and somebody's going the opposite direction. You're going to notice that,
Hmm.
right? And so we do a whole creative thinking fun shop on this one method. And what we do as a result of that, and what your listeners can do, is apply this, is write down everything that you know to be true about every part of your business, operationally, financially, sales wise, etc. Write down everything that you know to be a fact, right? And ask yourself, what is the exact opposite of that, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and then ask this further question: in what ways could we make that work, or in what ways might that work better than what we're currently doing? A phrase that drives me insane because it's so destructive is, well, we've always done it that way.
Oh, I hate that one. Absolutely hate that one.
Well, so what? But people fall into habits, right?
Mm-hmm.
And business owners typically are so busy throughout the course of the day just trying to keep things rolling that they don't take the time to look at new ways to get things done. Frankly, if you're going to succeed, and I don't just mean survive, I mean thrive in
Mm-hmm.
today's world. Forget COVID for a minute, but especially during this pandemic, you've got to do things in a different, better way. You have to innovate. It's no longer optional.
Yep.
And so that is if you're going to thrive. If you just want to survive, you might do it without innovating. But frankly, what if your competitors are? What if they are continually innovating?
Mm-hmm.
And so, you can try and outwork the competition, but you only have 24 hours in a day, right? You can try to outspend them, but most companies have limited funds. So what's your best option? Your best option is to outthink them,
Mm-hmm.
because thinking is free, right? Minus
Yep.
the time commitment. And so one of the reasons that people come to me for to develop strategies for them is, I'll outthink the competition for you, right? Because
Yep.
that's that is my job.
Yeah. No, I love that. I'm a big fan. My dad always instilled in me, work smarter, not harder. Right. And it's not about not working hard. It's about thinking about what you're doing before you approach it and going, is this really the best way to get this done?
Well, hard work's a little overrated, right?
I agree.
And what I mean by that, I don't mean that you don't need to put forth as much value as possible, but there's this myth out there that the only way to get things done, right, is to work your face off 16 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's fine if you have that commitment, but how long can you make that commitment, right? I mean, if hard work was the key to prosperity, then we'd still be digging ditches with a tablespoon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
There's no better way to say that.
I do that if you don't have to.
No better way. I don't think there's any better way to say that. I think there's what people confuse with hard work and effort are two very different things. Right? Hard work is just, grunt, head down, I got to get stuff done. Effort is focused and has a point to it.
Right. Why not be more efficient, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you can be, why wouldn't you want to be? The more efficient you can be, I'm a total business nerd. I was telling somebody this the other day, and they were laughing at me. I'm like, I just love everything about business because it serves people, and it drives the world forward. So I love this show on CNBC called The Profit.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really love watching that show. And one of the things that he talks about with a lot of the business owners that he visits to help is, efficiencies. The more efficient you can be, the more profitable you're going to be.
Yep.
So if you can be more efficient, you should seek to do that.
I agree. I am all about efficiency. I'm all about taking steps out of the process. Let's shift into this because I think this is a great segue into how do you leverage your current offerings in a different direction, right? Because part of leveraging and changing directions is finding efficiencies in what you're doing. So, so let's talk about this a little bit. We kind of chatted a little bit about restaurants. I think retail is another place that's been hit hard by this. And you have a lot of brick and mortar retail that's had to make a big shift to the online world as well, just to survive. So what are some of the pieces of advice you're giving, your customers, your clients, about how they can move from what they're currently offering and take that same type of product and push it into a new direction?
Well, let's take restaurants for a minute, right?
Yeah.
Restaurants, one of the things that I did in working with a couple of restaurant clients was I used the creative thinking game that I invented, that we use in a lot of our creative thinking fun shops. It's called What's the Big Idea? And I use that as a tool to help, stimulate my imagination and take my in different directions. And so one of the things that I looked at for them was, what are some other distribution outlets? Because currently most restaurants, and I know this is true in most of the US, and I suspect it's true in most of the rest of the world as well, most restaurants only have either delivery or people coming to pick up. There's little or diminished, I should say, in some cases none, right? Like a lot of local fast food places here in Westchester, Ohio, where I am. There's no indoor. You can't sit down and eat there.
Yep.
And in the ones that you can, it's about 25% capacity. So restaurants cannot survive on 25% capacity. So one of the things that I talked about was we came up with some different distribution points for those restaurants to have a limited menu, and to take that limited menu and collaborate with the places that we came up with were local fire stations, local shopping centers. I was trying to remember a couple of the other ones, but those are two that kind of stuck in my mind because those were the two that some people were implementing. And what they're doing is they're going out, and they're taking advantage of traffic that's already coming to those sites, and they're collaborating with the fire station. They're using that as a fundraiser, right? They're donating a small portion of proceeds from the food that they're selling there to the fire station and to. So that's and it's selling a lot more dollar volume of food. And frankly, one of the things that they found from that, Adam, is that because it's a limited menu, they're serving people a lot faster. There are fewer choices. So that's does that answer your question, hopefully?
Yeah, no, that answers my question. Great. I was gonna chime in because I have a restaurant client that I work with that was struggling with this, and when he was able to finally open up, one of the things that we worked with him on was he's breakfast and lunch place, and so we did a Sunday morning takeout family style breakfast package. So it serves a family of 4. You get fresh fruit, pancakes, eggs, and a mix of bacon and sausage for one flat rate, and it's all packaged and ready to go. So, you come in your PJs and pick up your breakfast and go home and have family style Sunday morning breakfast.
Right. Do you mind if I share with you another idea? This is not my idea. This is something that was came up with. I did an online workshop, and this was an idea for restaurants that was generated by one of our attendees. I'm going to give him credit here if you want me to talk to you about this idea.
Sure. Yeah, definitely.
The idea for him was to have the chef at at a higher level restaurant, more of a 4-star night out kind of restaurant, which are very, very limited, as we talked about before. To have them do a web-based cooking class where they're actually teaching attendees how to prepare the meals that are served at their restaurant. And and there are there's a little bit more to it than that. But the people that sign up for this course actually get the food items delivered to them,
Mm-hmm.
on dry ice. So they've got everything that they need to prepare this meal, and then they get private instruction from the chef. And and that idea was generated by a friend of mine named Jason Cutter, who
Awesome.
and Jason is not even, he's not exactly an idea guy. He's kind of a sales guy. In fact, he has a brand new book. I'll give a little plug for his book he just launched called Selling with Authentic Persuasion. And he just launched that book, and it's terrific. I thought so much of it, I wrote a little blurb for it.
Jason Cutter, right? Sales
Jason
Success
Cutter.
Architect. I just tagged him in the show comments as well.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
look him up. Definitely looks like he's got some great ideas as well. So
For sure, he does, and he's a good guy.
I find the salespeople often are the most creative in finding solutions for things. The best salespeople. They don't give themselves enough credit, but they really are.
Right. Well, it sort of relates to, I think, a philosophy that I espouse is there's a lot of power in have to. And if one good thing comes out of the COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of people have been forced to come up with different, better ways to do things.
Yep.
So, that's in the long run, I think maybe it'll be a good thing if people can survive for the duration.
Yeah, no, I agree. So, really, just kind of one last question here, and then we'll start to wrap up. When you talk about, we've talked a little bit about restaurants, and obviously retail has made the shift into, the online space. But I think I know for a fact there's bigger businesses, that and that have been impacted by this as well. Here in Southwest Florida, a great example of that is Hertz filing Chapter 11 bankruptcy and basically liquidating out a good portion of their business. And so I think it's interesting, especially with like Hertz and the travel industry, who got hit very, very hard by this, that they have to find really creative ways to get people engaged in utilizing their services. And so when you're thinking about like office solutions, right? So businesses like a Hertz, like a Delta Airlines, that are a little bit broader and bigger in scale, but in industries that are highly impacted, obviously they have more challenges than a small business in the respect of more moving pieces, right? But how do you help point businesses like that in a direction that helps them move out of their current challenges?
Yeah, I would probably have to give that a little bit more detailed thought. At least I would want to give a more intelligent, creative answer. But there's no question in my mind. Boy, this sounds cocky, and I don't really mean it to. It's just, it's like shooting basketball. If you shot a lot of baskets, you got more confidence you're going to make the next one.
Of course.
So, I certainly could take a look at that, and I have no doubt in my mind that I would come up with some strategies that would help them move forward more intelligently. And I think one of the biggest things that companies is that they think about their business in terms of what they do as opposed to the benefits that they're delivering to the customer. And so I think when you start focusing on, well, these are the benefits that we deliver to the customer, then you begin to look at what do we actually do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like your radio, is a kind of a different game than it used to be. But when when people who run radio stations say, we delivered sponsored content, right? When they start thinking about it that way, right? And we provide entertainment to the listeners, and we provide a valuable space to our sponsors to deliver their message. Then when they start thinking about it that way, then they can start to see solutions that they didn't see before, especially if they start to think about it more creatively.
Yeah, no, that is absolutely great advice, and that definitely answers my question in the intention of it. It is really just about how do we shift our mindset and put the right focus so we can think creatively in it. And so maybe I wasn't exactly clear on my question, but you answered it beautifully.
Okay, I'm not sure I had, but I'm glad I did.
So let's start to wrap up here. So I always like to wrap up my show with one final thought because I think it's great for if people have the time to listen to the whole show, but sometimes we don't always have that time. So out of everything we've talked about today, what is that one thing that they should take away from today's show?
The one thing that I would say that people could really take away from the show is that stop using your muscles and start using your mind. If muscles were the key to survival, dinosaurs wouldn't have gone extinct, right?
Yep.
They're probably the most muscularly powerful beings, but there's a reason that human beings have ascended to the position of prominence that they have in this. And so, people, I remember hearing once, I forget who it was that said it, but I since stole it from him. He said that money does not make money, brains make money. And people are just using them in the wrong way. And so, begin using your brain in a different way than you're using it before. Utilize some new tools. We've got some that you can access, and and move forward. And either you're going to do that or your competitor's going to do it.
Yep.
Which do you prefer?
Yeah, no, that is absolutely great advice. Where can people find you? I know we got Spearpoint online on the show notes, but obviously, I'm just going to take a fathom of a guess here. LinkedIn is probably a great place to find you.
Yeah, for sure. Especially me personally. We have company pages on Facebook, and I've got a Twitter account, and we've got a company page there, or company account there. But frankly, LinkedIn is probably it. I'm personally there. We have a company page there as well, and so yeah, that's the best place to find me in the online universe.
Fantastic. So we will make sure we get that in the show notes. Reach out to Bob, connect with Bob. He is a great resource for your business, for your ideas, your thoughts, and he'll help you put them in a really solid direction. Bob, I really appreciate your time today. I know our listeners definitely appreciate your time and your thoughts as well. So after the show here, this is being broadcast currently live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. It will be available for replays on all three platforms. Additionally, hopefully by the end of the week here, I will have this up on my podcast platform as well. So you'll be able to find the replay there. Bob, again, thank you so much. Appreciate you having you on. Everybody, I appreciate you all as well. We will see you next Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I look forward to sharing some more great knowledge with you. Have a wonderful week and a great weekend.